All right, Geneva, Illinois is home to what is called the most beautiful ship ever built. Krista Rose took a look at what makes a part of history in today's Did You Know?
Ah! To the ship! Ah! How did they get this ship from Norway to Chicago?
That's an amazing part of the story. The Norwegians said the Americans admire courage, and so they determined to sail the ship from Norway to the World's Fair.
They took this thing across the Atlantic Ocean?
Absolutely.
How long did that trip take?
It took 4 weeks, and it was not an easy trip. The ship suffered some enormous storms, including one that lasted 30 hours in the middle of the North Atlantic Ocean. The construction of the Viking ship is really a series of bows, like archery bows, joined together, edge to edge, and attached on the ends of the ship. What this means is that because of that bow-like structure of the ship, when the ocean pushes against it, the ship's structure pushes right back. This kind of construction allows the ship to be very light and yet very, very strong.
Tell us about the ship at the World's Fair when it got here.
The ship was a wildly popular attraction. On the day the ship arrived in Chicago, the fair attendance jumped by 60,000 people. After the World's Fair, the ship went down the Erie Canal, Illinois River, and the Mississippi River to New Orleans, where it spent Mardi Gras in 1894. After that, the ship was brought back to Chicago by some Norwegian businessmen. It sat by the Lincoln Park Lagoon for the next 70 years or so. Finally, an expansion of the zoo was required. There was no room for the ship, and word came out that it had to be moved or it would be destroyed. And in 1996, it was brought to Good Temple Park, where it's been ever since.
We're kind of in a temporary structure right now. Where do we want to see the ship end up?
The ship's 120 years old, and to make it for another 120 years, it has to be in a temperature-controlled environment. And that, at this point in time now, is the focus of the Friends of the Viking Ship, to find a permanent temperature-controlled environment for the vessel.
Dave, who are we going to go raid?
There's always the Minnesota Vikings.
Let's get them! And if you can take me seriously in this robe, yes. I have other fun facts for you about this ship that I'm completely enamored with. There's so much great stuff in history around this ship.
Yeah, I can't believe it made it across the ocean.
Right.
It doesn't look possible, but the Vikings were bad, you know what.
Yeah. Well, they sailed across, they got to New York, and they had these galas in New York, specifically in Brooklyn. When they were coming out of a gala one night, they were jumped by a group of ruffians and beaten up. And here's the crazy thing. The people that beat them up, I hate to say it, were my people, the Italians, right. Because the Norwegians were saying, oh, the Vikings were the first to come, to America. Ooh. So pro-Columbus people beat them up. They locked them in jail. They had to pay a $200 fine. And back in the day, that's like $5,000 a person.
Wow.
So they got out, and then the mayor of New York felt so bad, and keep in mind, Brooklyn and New York are two different cities boroughs, at this point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the mayor at the time, Thomas Gilroy, said, all expenses paid in New York City. We're not like those people in Brooklyn.
Oh, that was nice.
And then that forced the mayor of Brooklyn at the time, Mr. David A. Booty, yeah, to drop all charges against the sailors.
I cannot believe that there was a fight over history.
Right. Yeah.
That is amazing. Sense, though. Yeah, it totally does, but still.
It's unbelievable. So they go up the Hudson River, and to get to Chicago, they got to go through the Erie Canal. And that is the Erie Canal that stretches across New York State.
Wow.
Here's the crazy part, and I hope you're ready for this, because here's a little math. The Viking ship was 17 feet wide. Mm-hmm. The width of the lock on the Erie Canal was 17 feet 6 inches.
Oh.
They had 3 inches of wiggle room.
Probably had to get out and pull it on a rope.
They did. They had tugboats. They had people pulling, and there's actually some photos of them in the Erie Canal bringing this ship through.
That's amazing. Wow.
How long has it been in Galena?
It's been there for...
I'm sorry, what? Yeah.
Geneva.
I'm sorry, Geneva.
It's been there for years, like 40, 50 years. When they were expanding the zoo, like they said, they were just like, hey, we're going to demolish this thing. And it's so sad, and I want to challenge anybody who's from the MSI and they're watching, like, this is not only history, this is scientific history on shipbuilding. This boat should be at that museum. There's no reason that this boat should not be at MSI or in the Smithsonian.
And think about it, Museum of Science and Industry is where, the reason why that building exists is because that's where the World Fair was.
Yeah.
Back in 1893.
1893,
Yeah.
the Columbian
So-
Exposition.
Yeah, you would think they'd be fighting over having that at any sort of museum across the country.
And they gave me this great book all about the Viking ship. I've been reading up on it. It's fantastic. There's so many good tidbits. Apparently, when they went down to Mardi Gras on the Mississippi,
Things got a little wild.
Things got a little crazy, and they were actually going to take it from New Orleans around Florida all the way up to Washington D.C. But Grover Cleveland, because Grover Cleveland said, "Hey, bring it up here. We'll put it in the Smithsonian." But they got word in New Orleans that there was no money to put in the Smithsonian, and that Grover Cleveland essentially lied to them.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Scandal on the morning show.
Not the first politician to lie to people.
Well, there's all the information. Tours are going on through October 20th. Call in advance for group tours. Great piece of history to check out. Thank you so much, Chris.
Yeah, that was really
Awesome
cool.
mess.